Thank you once again for joining us for a weekly interlude with SCMS. This week, we're pleased to be joined by two festival musicians that come and join us regularly. We've got Erin Keefe, the concertmaster of the Minnesota Orchestra, as well as Osmo Vänskä, the music director there at the Minnesota Orchestra. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. So first of all, I guess I want to ask everybody, you guys are both staying healthy, you're staying safe, you're doing well.
Yes, we're fine. We actually had a pretty large travel day last week, and so we were a little concerned with safety, but we've actually been tested for COVID-19 and we're both negative, so that's great.
Excellent.
So we are in Seoul, South Korea right now, and so that is why we have been under control and they have tested us. So we are happy about that.
Yeah. So you traveled from Minnesota to Korea, and I'm curious, how was that experience? You know, most of the musicians we've chatted with have traveled to get home, but haven't traveled, sort of since they got back to wherever it was they were going home to.
Yeah, well, we were actually in New York when this all started, when everything sort of got shut down. Well, actually, Osmo was in Europe and flew to New York to meet me, and we decided to drive home from there. So since the middle of March, we were completely in our apartment, went out just for walks and some groceries. But traveling here was definitely surreal, and it in some ways made it much more real because you're surrounded by people. Some people are like in hazmat suits with gas masks on, and you see a lot of things across the board. But being on a plane where you're not in your own space, you're not able to control so much what you're touching and who's touching what around you. So that was a little bit more stressful, I think, than anything we've had to deal with for the last few months.
Erin fortunately is a great planner, and we wanted to be super careful using masks, of course, and gloves, and trying to think about what to touch with these gloves, what not to touch. So we try to play that part of the game very carefully, and it was done. So I believe that airplanes and airports are still one of the most dangerous places. So the risk level was high, and we wanted to behave to reach that level.
You said you're in a 14-day quarantine there where you're not allowed to leave at all. So how are you filling your days while you're there? They must feel very long at times.
Yeah, I have to say, I think every day feels like 5 days. I've never quite experienced that before. When we were at home, you're in your own space, you're in your own kitchen, you're cooking. I like to organize, so I would, work on my music library, upload things, whatever. But here, we have a limited amount of our own things that we brought with us. So we each have our own ways of coping with it. I'm reading a lot, and I do a lot of Zoom calls with my friends, either at night or in the morning, because otherwise we're both asleep at opposite times. And then actually, we just got done with a rehearsal, the two of us. We have all these duos we've been commissioning, and with our crazy schedules, we haven't had so much time to work on them. So that's been a really nice opportunity.
I have had many business meetings too. So, and then, as Erin said, if it is in America, it's a very funny time. My early morning is evening in America, but I had a changed message with my friend who said it very well. It seems to be like the week is really long, but every single day are going so fast that you think that you can do many things, and then finally it comes to the evening, you haven't done the things you have planned. So every day is fast, but the weeks are long.
Yeah, we disagree about that point. We're totally different in that way, but we get to the end of every day, and we're just over 50% done with the quarantine. So that's nice because we literally cannot leave our apartment at all under any reason except for if we get approved by the health facility in our district, and that would be only if we're sick, I would assume. So.
We just open the windows and see how much people are walking there, and there are a lot of restaurants, and it's hard to smell the good food coming from the street, but we just cannot go there.
Yeah. So does somebody deliver groceries for you, or is there pre-made food that comes in?
We are quite fortunate. So Osmo is the new music director of the Seoul Philharmonic Orchestra. And so that's the reason we're here. He's going to work for several weeks, and they are taking really good care of us. So we gave them a grocery list before we came, and they stocked the kitchen. And we've gotten deliveries. We've gotten, I think, one more delivery since then. In theory, we could get food delivered as well, but since we're here for so many weeks, and I'm trying to be good with a little bit of a diet.
She's a master chef.
Yeah. So we're cooking because we're going to move to a hotel after this and be eating out for every meal. So we're cooking every meal, but we have plenty of food. We're not going to starve.
So for the Minnesota Orchestra, where you both obviously reside and kind of make your home most of the year, you recently played a piece by Osmo. You talked a little bit about, you guys have commissioned some works. Was that part of that commissioning project? And are there other things that you've been working and playing together? I know there's not necessarily the biggest repertoire for violin and clarinet, but I remember Eros that you played here a few summers ago, as well as that wonderful dialogue that was on YouTube.
Well, Eros, the piece that you heard in Seattle, was the first piece which was written for us specifically. And then Osmo was inspired after that to write his duo. And since then, I think we've commissioned.
I think we have 3 others.
3 duos, a trio with piano, and there's a chamber concerto in the works.
Yeah, and then also another duo is coming. So I think that we are dealing with 5 new pieces. Some of them are written, some of them are not written yet.
And Osmo likes to compose, obviously, and so he was having a bit of a tough time like a week ago, getting bored before we knew we were coming here. And I made the suggestion, why don't you start transcribing pieces, pieces that everyone knows and loves. And so he got in on a little bit of a tangent, which I think is why his days are going so quickly here, because he's on his Sibelius program on the computer composing day and night, or transcribing.
Yeah, but now the meditation is done.
Yeah, meditation from Thais,
wonderful.
Everyone's favorite melody ever.
Yeah.
So
we'll look forward to being able to hear that, I hope, soon. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. And now you're working on some Mozart arias. There's a book that we bought, I think it's for 2 oboes, and it's all these
bassoons, or 2 of C instruments.
And they're transcriptions of all these Mozart opera arias, very famous ones. So we scanned a few, and that's the next project. I think
I try to make them working for the violin and clarinet.
That'll keep you busy for a long time, even if that was all you were doing. So while you're in Seoul, what are some of the projects that you guys are doing?
Yeah, it's I'm going to do 3 programs with them, and the programs we have planned a year or 1.5 years ago, they are now too big programs, because we have to go on stage and have distances between the players, and it means that we cannot use so many players. So we are going to play like Stravinsky symphonies of wind instruments, which is only the woodwinds and brass. We are going to play Mozart Symphony number 39, and right now I'm curious to see how many string players we can put there, because we need to follow all the rules. We are going to.
Well, I don't know that you should announce them all yet, because they haven't
announced
the project.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay.
But a brand new announcement. Stop the presses
the first
here.
3 they're playing. That's announced.
Yeah.
But you have had to adjust the schedule a bit, knowing some of the rules with distancing, and fits within the public health guidelines at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, like every other orchestra, it's a totally new world, and so I think everyone is. Some countries earlier than others are dealing with these questions about how do we do this and safely for the musicians, but also the audience, of course. So he has meetings almost daily to figure this out, because the first concert I think is in about 10 days.
10 days. Yeah.
And then they readjusted the schedule. It's not completely set yet to add some concerts since he's here, and obviously other guest conductors probably wouldn't be willing to come in quarantine for 1 week of work. And then it's not confirmed yet, but it looks like we'll probably both be going to a festival in southern South Korea to both work, which would be really nice, at the beginning of July, probably. So we have a one-way ticket here. We have no idea what our plans are after that. It's a very, very strange thing. I think all musicians are used to having their schedules set for like at least 1 or 2 seasons at a time. And so this is a very strange time to just sort of go with the flow.
And it is totally a new way to plan. The old way was now Minnesota, next week in London, next week in Seoul, next week in Helsinki. And now most of the countries, they need to have these 2 weeks of quarantine. So if you want to work 1 week, you have to be 2 weeks in quarantine, and that is crazy. So we try to put those 1 weeks together so that people are working a little bit longer time. But it's like making a very difficult puzzle.
As far as the audience, are they also trying to, are they selling less tickets so that people have that distancing, or how is that working from that perspective, I guess?
These are going to be, the concerts we are speaking right now, these are going to be for public. But it means that every other seat is open and every other row is empty. So there are so many new things. That this whole time is just try to find out what is possible, what is not possible, and if it is possible, how to do.
Thinking about too, your role back in Minnesota. Both of you are leaders within the orchestra. Are you checking in with the members of the orchestra there as well, and making sure people are staying healthy, or is there?
I think, well, every committee of the orchestra is meeting on Zoom, either weekly or probably a couple times a month. Actually, for instance, tomorrow I'm having a meeting with my whole section. One part of that is to catch up and see how everyone's doing, but we're also discussing a few things that had come up in terms of staying connected with our audience and what we can do to help. I think there are lots of different meetings. We have orchestra meetings, of course, as well in Zoom, which is a little chaotic with like 90 people, but they're really helpful. And I think it's nice to keep in touch with our colleagues and see how everyone's doing. There are also, I heard online poker matches happening. They're like in the middle of our night, so I don't take part. But there are lots of different things that are happening just to keep morale up and keep in touch with our colleagues, because we're so used to seeing each other on such a regular basis, which isn't happening.
And on the planning side, we try to make plans for possible starting point. But I can tell you that it's not easy to plan when you don't have a faith that day is going to be our way to go out. So you have to plan, and you have to think about if it is going to be cancelled, so that there is as little as possible damage. But it's also, if we don't plan anything, then we don't have a signal to give for the audience that there is a hope. So we need to plan because of hope, and then we have to be flexible to change things later if it's not going to happen. And of course, Minnesota Orchestra is doing also those video things. People are playing home, and we just made a gift for all Minnesota graduates when they cannot do it together. So it was the Elgar's so they could do that at home, have their graduation with the Minnesota Orchestra. And I think that was a great idea.
That's great. We're all looking for ways to make sure that we continue to stay connected.
Yeah, I mean, I think the orchestra has its own committee where they're trying to come up with all these different ideas of what they can do. We always call donors and express our thanks, and that is still going on. And Osmo's made actually a few videos. One of our major audience members who comes to everything, she turned 90.
100.
Oh, she turned 100.
Wow.
So he played Happy Birthday and sent her
Wonderful.
a little birthday video. So as many things as we can do to stay connected, we're trying to do. But two of our players, our principal players, are hosting a weekly session a half an hour before the new broadcasts are being done, and they have two guests on. So this week, Osmo was the guest, and actually my stand partner, Susie Park, was a guest. And they talk about the music that they're going to hear and what's going on, and they take questions from the audience who are typing comments, I think, in the comment section. So.
And also those videos you have already seen, the videos from the homes of the musicians. So that is also, people can. We just want to tell the audience that we are here, we are still alive, and we miss you, and we want to do something that you can listen to, or to have visual contact also.
And one nice thing that I've seen, a bunch of our musicians have had birthdays since this all started. And so I've seen videos of our many musicians doing like a parade with their cars and playing, usually like a brass band or something. And there was a funny story that after they had finished like driving around the block for, I think it was our tuba player, the neighbors came out and asked if they would do it again so they could like all film it and get it on video. So that was pretty cute. But,
excellent. You know, making sure it's viral the right way, I guess.
yes, exactly.
Wonderful. Out of curiosity, so you had talked about the fact that, you know, you're quite an excellent chef and enjoy cooking. You know, is there certain things that, you know, you are exploring in the kitchen, or are there things that you're getting to read that have been on the bookshelves for a long time that?
Well, definitely meal planning is something I've had to think about more than ever. I always have liked to cook, but I could go to the grocery store like 4 times a week on my way home from work and decide what I felt like eating, which obviously is not a very healthy idea right now or safe idea. So I've been doing that. And actually with this kitchen, it's much smaller than I'm used to. There's no oven. There's no dishwasher. He's the dishwasher. So usually I like make a lot of dishes dirty and it's like a disaster, but now I'm trying to be mindful about that and what I can use and what will stay fresh. So cooking is definitely something that I think about all the time. Just it's a good way to distract myself. And all musicians love food. We all like to eat. And then
I have to take care of the laundry too. So dishes and laundry.
And trash. You take care of trash.
Yeah.
So then we actually thought about we don't usually read paper books anymore because we're on the road and they take up a lot of space and room. But I brought a ton of books. Number one, because we don't read them at home. And number two, because so much more screen time than we usually have, I think. So just trying to think about our eyes. And then we started watching a lot of opera because the Met, you know, they had that initiative where they did it for free. But then we just decided to get the subscription so we could watch whatever we want, whenever we want. So that's been really fun because it seems sort of educational too. There's all these operas. We just saw Rosencavalier, which I loved. I loved Strauss music, of course. And I played the suite, but never seen the opera. So.
And then there are movies and TV programs. It's just like when we come to the evening, we are so tired.
Well, we're jet lagged.
That the TV time is getting shorter and shorter.
But actually, I was texting with James Ennis the other day, and we were talking about the quarantine, and he recommended a few good Netflix shows. So I have just started Money Heist. Thank you, James, for keeping me occupied for at least the next week. We'll see.
You know, James has been working hard, and it sounds like you guys have too with Minnesota, but you know, really thinking about how to make a festival happen. I'm really hopeful and excited that we're going to have you guys involved.
Yeah, we can't wait to watch all the videos of our friends playing. That's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
No, it's a great idea.
But this time are going to be remembered the time where everybody had to find new ways, to create new ways to do things. And so it could be very creative. It's not fun right now, but we are learning skills which are not going to put away when we are back. So I think that life has some new things, not only in music area, but many areas because of coronavirus. So nothing so bad that there is not some good things too.
Well, we're very glad that you took some time and joined us here. I guess it's just afternoon for you here. It's in the evening when we're doing the conversation. But thank you so much. We can't wait to actually have you back in Seattle.
Yeah, we can't wait. It'll be a great day.
It would be great to come back. But right now we would like to send all our best greetings from Seoul, and to think that music world is still alive.